Good morning. I'm Joanne Jobin with VID Media, and welcome to the O3 Mining Town Hall Forum. We're here this morning with CEO Jose Vizquerra, who will provide our audience with an O3 Mining progress update and outlook for 2023. And now a few words about the company. O3 Mining, an Osisko Group company, is a Quebec-focused gold explorer and mine developer. The company benefits from the support and mine building success, as well as the expertise of the Osisko team as it grows towards being a gold producer with several multi-million ounce deposits in Quebec. The company is well capitalized with a 100% interest in all of its properties and is focused on delivering superior returns to all stakeholders. Before we get started, I do want to remind everyone that if you do have any questions for the company, please place them into the Q&A tab at the top of your chat sections. And now I'd like to turn it over to Jose, who will provide an update on the company. Jose?
Thank you very much, Joanne, and I am extremely happy to be here with your audience. We are O3 Mining, the third iteration of the Osisko Group of companies, and I am very pleased to give you an update on where we are. So cautionary statements, and very important to mention in our view of how we look at the business. There are three things that we believe are incredibly important in order to achieve our vision, which is to become the best-in-class gold producer or intermediate gold producer in Quebec. And these are the people, the assets, and the financial capability, i.e. the money. With regards to the people, we have one of the best explorationists in our team, Luis Gagliepi, and Luis was part of the discovery of one of the most important VMS deposits in Peru with Nexa Resources. We have Mirza Velo working on environmental and communities, Alex Rodriguez coming from Glencore from Peru, and in the case of Jean-Felix Lapage coming from Goldcorp. In the case of Elia Terchenki, he's our CFO. And myself, which I'm a civil engineer with a master's in geology and studies at the Wharton School of Business in Finance. So we have a group that it is well-rounded, and we are prepared to take this project from where we are, which is now an exploration project, into production. We have two main assets. Marban, where we already have a pre-feasibility study, which shows a net present value of $463 million. Remember, our market cap is around $100 million. So you're talking about a fundamental value already of 3 times our market cap. And we have Alpha, which is an exploration story that we have on the eastern side of Marban, where we already have 900,000 ounces of gold, and we continue to grow that. Financially, we have been building our cash balance by essentially divesting some of the assets, incorporating them as shares. Reason why right now we have in the order of $60 million between cash and equities in the company. We do believe in ESG, environmental, social, and governance, and proof of that is that we're one of the first to have the Ecologo certification in Quebec. We are being covered by the most important reputable groups in Canada, among others. We have very good shareholders, which are extremely reputable, such as Vanek, Merck, and Franklin Templeton. Sir Franklin Templeton was probably one of the most successful investors in the world, and they are out of San Francisco, and we feel extremely proud that they are part of our shareholder basis, and they hold almost 9% of our company. Proof that we believe in our assets is what the North Americans call skin in the game, and that's what we have as a family office. We own around 6% of the company that we bought at the same price as most of our investors has been buying. There was no free stock here, and that shows our commitment to the company and our commitment to the future growth of the company. Very important to talk about is the jurisdiction. Val-d'Or is one of the most important places in the world to do mining. When we look into all these greenstone belts, Val-d'Or will always be on these top 5. This is, in the case of O3 with Marban and Alpha, a unicorn. We are within an area of elephants trying to find an elephant. The good thing is that we already have found almost 4 million ounces, 3.8 million ounces in the area. In the case of Marban, we have a total amount of 2.3 million ounces in Marban, which essentially states like a very good platform from where we could grow, and that is being reflected in our press releases. That's being reflected in our pre-feasibility study, what shows a production profile, again, in the case of Marban, of 161,000 ounces of gold. Val-d'Or has something that it is very important now with regards to the world. We do have in Canada democracy, we do have in Canada freedom, we do have in Canada rule of law, and in Quebec in particular, we have rule of law and we have the support of the government for mining projects, which is extremely important. We have in Val-d'Or a lot of energy coming from hydropower, and if we know about this, almost more than 60% of the cost usually comes from power. The fact of having hydroelectric power makes this project a very unique project from an environmental standpoint of view, which makes us extremely happy. And we will keep contributing into augmenting the viability of this project and to show the respect with the environment, with communities, with First Nations, and with the citizens in the town of Val-d'Or. With regards to Val-d'Or, we could also say that manpower is extremely important, and the amount of resources that has been found in the area is extremely unique, and that makes us extremely happy with where we are with regards to Val-d'Or. The results from a pre-feasibility study were shown in our studies. In this pre-feasibility study, we show a post-tax of $463 million with an unlevered IRR of 23%. If we were using a total amount of debt, this IRR will go up. An initial capex of $435 million. And with regards to this, I want to make a couple of points that are extremely important. Again, remember, market cap, $100 million. Fundamental value, already $463 million, and we're not even including Alpha. With regards to this, can we increase the post-tax net present value? Absolutely yes. For every 160,000 ounces that we put into production on top of what we have right now, we could increment the net present value. Internal calculation shows around $80 million for every 160,000 ounces that it's added into the project. We need to find them, we need to show them, but there is chances there to keep adding over this with regards to the fundamental value. 2, can we bring down the capex? Yes. Why? Because Agnico Eagle, which just bought Yamana Gold, is only 12 kilometers. It's really crossing the railroad from Marban, and they will have excess of capacity at their mill. So effectively, if we could get into an agreement with Agnico, we could potentially send the ore to Agnico Eagle, which will reduce our capex substantially, probably even to half of the capex, and that will increase the post-tax net present value and will increase value into O3 mining, which is extremely important. So we could add value in 2 avenues: by adding more ounces and increasing the net present value, and by reducing the initial cost by working together with other players in the region and essentially extending and expanding synergies. If not, we could always do it by ourselves, which is very doable. What we see in here is where the asset is in the case of Marban, most of the pits are on the southern side, and we have all the potential in the green side for more exploration and to find more ounces. Where is our places to find the ounces is mostly on the green side. What we see in here, which is taking a little bit of time, is where the Malartic, a view of Malartic, just to show how close we are from Marban to the railroad that could potentially go directly to the Canadian Malartic mine that we see right in here. The gold prices, of course, could also increment the value of O3 mining on the basis of fundamental value. And that is, it's extremely important because, again, how can we increase the value of O3 is by finding more ounces, reducing capex, improving operating costs, but also gold price, which is something that we do not control. But if we do see gold price going up, we could see an extremely good condition for O3 and to be a very successful project. That's why we believe that O3 is one of the very unique opportunities that we see in the market right now, and that's why we invite you to learn more about O3. Again, to the point of what happens if we keep expanding production in here. You see here that in year 10 we run out of ore. So if we keep adding, let's say for the next 5 years, and assuming that every year it's 160,000 ounces, we could be talking about double the net present value that we have right now. But let's go step by step. This is what we have right now, $463 million, which is already 4 times where we are in terms of market cap. Where are the resources? The resources are in the areas that we have here in blue, Malartic H, Malartic High Grade, or OIII, and also the potential for new resources in green. And within the green side, we see an area called Ludovic, which is only north from Canadian Malartic, where we were able to process all the information from before, and we were able to gather good results that were drilled in the early 2000s, where we see values of a meter of 23 grams, 49 meters of 0.58 grams. That could potentially be something for open pit, 2 meters of 9 grams. So there is more potential here from what we have right now in terms of resources. No, in the case of Camflo, we drilled Camflo from our side because this starts at Agnico's Eagle side, and we were able to show that the fluids are very well mineralized. We see here 94 meters of a gram, which is extremely important from a geological standpoint of view to see these sort of values. This is just to show where else we could be finding ore. And yes, there is potential for more underground ounces, but we want to allocate capital in areas that can be part of the next 15 years. We don't want to invest right now because the money of today is more expensive than the money of tomorrow. So we will only invest in things that where we see a return. Alpha has its own merits. This is outside of Marban. This is on top of these $463 million that I keep talking as if I'm a radio, like it's talking all the time. $100 million market cap, $463 million fundamental value, and on top of that, Alpha with exploration potential. And we were able to find a new area here in Acasaba West on the left side, where we see very, very good results on the reprocessing from previous drilling. So there is potential there in Acasaba as well to expand the possibilities. And of course, just as a coincidence, Agnico is also on the side. So where we are today, we were able to do a preliminary economic assessment. We said we were going to do it, and we did it. We did a pre-feasibility study, which essentially shows very robust numbers. We will put a new resource. We put a new resource last October, and we will put a new resource now towards the second quarter of the year. And we were able to file the initial project description, which essentially triggers the beginning of all the conversations with the citizens, with the First Nations, with the government, and where we feel extremely positive of how we are advancing the project. So in general, we will see a 30,000 meter drilling program between Marban and Alpha, around 80% into Marban, 20% into Alpha. And one thing that we should also have in mind here is that O3 Mining has been very diligent on the expenditures and very diligent on the discovery rates at which we have been discovery on $1 per ounce basis, which essentially set us for a successful year. I think 2023 will be a very important year for O3 Mining, not only for what we could do by ourselves, but what is happening right now in the region with a consolidation from Agnico Eagle taking over Yamana Gold. And with that, I will conclude the presentation and expect questions from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. That's a fantastic update. Joining us this morning to answer some of your questions are members of the O3 team, including Mirza Tavares Bello, VP of Sustainable Development, Louis Guérepi, VP Exploration, and Jean-Félix Lapage, VP Projects. And the first question for today is the recent 100%, I guess we're going to stay on this consolidation that you've been talking about in your presentation. So the recent 100% consolidation of Canadian Malartic by Agnico Eagle speaks to more potential M&A activity in the area and more eyes on the Malartic camp. So what impact do you see this happen? And what kind of impact do you see this having on Marban?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that Agnico has interest in the region. They have been very open, stating that, and proof of that is the acquisition of Yamana, and that certainly is for the Canadian Malartic mine. And the Canadian Malartic mine is the most profitable mine right now in Canada, one of the biggest ones. So the Canadian Malartic mine, it is also very public that will need feed. They have a very large mill for 60,000 tons. Well, in fact, it's 55, but they have been processing up to 60. And there will be an excess of capacity for that mill. I think that it opens a lot of opportunities for O3 Mining, and for investors in general. Because if we think about this, and these are just possibilities, no? One, O3 Mining could be sending ore to Canadian Malartic, and that will be a toll milling agreement. Two, O3 Mining potentially could work together with Agnico and find synergies to maybe put this into production together. Or three, Agnico, and that's something we don't control, may decide to just, reel O3 into their portfolio. And in any of the three cases, our investors will benefit, which at the end is for whom we work.
Thank you, Jose. And, as I'm sure interested investors would want to know, have you had any discussions to that effect with Agnico Eagle? Okay.
That's something we cannot talk about.
Okay. All right. So what are your main objectives for the Marban drilling campaign in 2023?
Our interest is to essentially grow our resources, and we'll continue to do that. And we will put out a new resource on the second quarter of this year.
Okay. And can you elaborate more on the drilling plans for the Akasaka deposit on Alpha? Sorry, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, on the Akasaka deposit on the eastern side of Akasaka West from Agnico Eagle, essentially we have identified a new structure, which essentially give us hope to have more resources there. So we will continue to drill close to surface, looking for essentially open pitable material.
Okay, and now we're going to roll into ESG. Chris Eastland says, I have been a bit worried by the comments read by the city of Val d'Or regarding environmental impact, that and other comments from a December article in La Presse.
Yes, and I think we feel extremely proud that these things went out with regards to what are the contributions that we will be able to do as O3, and also the contributions that will come from the citizens and the First Nations. So one thing that is important to understand is the process on an environmental project, no, on this project. So at the time that you submit your project description, then at that moment you will receive contributions or comments from different groups, First Nations, citizens, from our own engineers on what are the different things that has to be incorporated into the project. And with that, we continue to work. So we take this as part of the process, and we think that we are just going to be very fine with this process. I think it's an.
I think we're okay. So the next question is, what are the next steps for the environmental evaluation of Marbon?
I think the best person to explain that will be Mirza, who is our Vice President of Sustainability, Environment, and HR.
Good morning, everyone. I'll try to be brief in explaining the complex process. So as Jose mentioned, we did at the end of last year submit our initial project description at the federal level and notice to the Ministry of the Environment at the provincial level, because we do have to go get authorizations from both levels. So the intent with that is to present briefly the project and then go into consultations to ask about any concerns that any group could have, so that the authorities could then dictate what we have to include in our impact study. So in the federal level, the consultations has ended. So there will be, they did submit us the different concerns. So we're going to be now doing our detailed project description. And with the provincial level, this finishes on February 3rd. And then with this, both instances, so the federal government will decide if we do need an impact study and what will have to be included in that impact study. And the provincial level will also tell us what they want included in their impact study. So once we get all these conditions, we will be able to start doing that impact study. Of course, in parallel to this, we will continue engaging with our the different stakeholders, whether it be the municipalities, the citizens, the First Nations, and any group that is concerned. And our idea here is always to improve our project with these contributions that we're getting from the different groups.
Thank you, Mirza. And
Thank you.
One more question. Can you summarize the main steps you have taken so far in permitting, and what are the next milestones?
It was just explained by Mirza, but I think Mirza can re-explain it since the question has been proposed.
So as I just explained, the next steps is really for us to receive all the feedback that we've been doing in these consultations, these pre-consultations. It's really important to understand that it's really pre-consultations. We can't affirm today what will have and not have an impact. So then we could then initiate our impact study.
Thank you, Mirza, for clarifying that. And that seems to be it for our Q&A today. If you do have other questions, please make sure that you send them to info@o3mining.com. Thank you, team. Just a quick reminder for everyone to please fill out the quick questionnaire before logging off. This helps us to communicate more effectively with you, the investor. Thanks and merci to everyone who joined us today, and we'll see you at the next Town Hall Forum. Good day.
Thank you.